Welcome back to GTN's Coaches Corner, where we are going to be answering some of your triathlon related questions that you guys have shared with us using the hashtag GTN Coaches Corner. And we have a huge selection of topics to cover today. You guys have not disappointed with your questions. So we're going to get kicked off and see how far we get today. And to get us started, we have this question from Wilfred Dar. Everyone references the 10% rule increasing gradually, but no one actually says what it is. 10% per week, month, year, or what? Well, it's certainly something that we cite regularly here at GTN, and it's a very valid point. When we are talking about the 10% rule, we are talking about the weekly volume. So whether that's mileage, if you measure your training by time, not so accurate, but you can use that. So it's only increasing up to 10% per week. And it's a guideline, but it's also very much a maximum. So try not to do more than that. Doesn't mean you have to increase by that much each week. And it's also worth bearing in mind that if you are increasing the intensity of your training that you're doing, then you want to actually just maintain the volume, and it's one or the other when it comes to making sure you've got a gradual increase so that your body has time to adapt to it. Let's take an example. Say you're currently running 20k per week. Well, that would mean that you don't want to increase your next week's total mileage by more than 2k, so up to a total maximum of 22k. If, however, you are going to be swapping, say, your easy run and making that into a tempo run, then we would recommend that you keep your volume the same until your body's adapted to that. So maybe for a couple of weeks, and then you go back to looking at increasing that distance. Now we've got a question from Win K. I want to train for my first triathlon, but I only have a commuter bike. Should I even bother to train with it, or should I get a road bike? Or are there alternative ways to make a commuter bike more race ready? Well, Winkay, it totally depends on quite a lot of factors here. First up, how serious do you want to take your triathlon? And the biggest question that I'm gonna have to sort of make presumptions on is, what is your commuter bike? Because some people commute on bikes that are perfectly capable of doing a triathlon race. So if it's a short distance and your commuter bike is one with a basket on top and a bell, then, and just a few gears, that's actually okay. You see all sorts going into certain triathlons, but for a short distance, that's fine. You will have your work cut out on the hills though, and you just need to make sure that it's a working bike. Now you're asking as though you might be looking for an excuse to get a new bike. So why not look at potentially getting a road bike that you can still use for your commuting? You'll find it much easier to do your training on, and you'll be able to race on it. You can put aero bars on if you want, and you can take them off whilst you're commuting. So there's quite a few options out there, but I would say if you're considering it, maybe even trade in your old bike, get something that's actually preferable for doing triathlon, but then you can also use it for your day-to-day commute. We've got a couple of flip turn related questions following our recent video on this topic. And to start us off, we have this from Flinifiable. I struggle when to take the last breath before the turn and how soon to take one after. I keep hearing that I shouldn't breathe after the flags, and also that I should take at least 2 strokes after the turn before breathing again. But at my pace, that's a lot of not breathing. Are these really best practices, or is it just someone trying to drown me? Well, Flinifiable, don't worry, it's not someone trying to drown you, but it's probably more advice that's aimed at top level swimmers. And I feel your pain here. It does seem a little bit like torture, but it depends on what your swimming goals are. So if you are going to enter a swimming race and it's say 100, 200, or maybe even 400 meters, then these marginal gains will make a difference, and you will need to practice it. And the more you practice it in training, the more natural it will be in racing. But obviously when you're going at race pace, you're gonna need more oxygen, so it will feel that bit harder. But it's all about making it as smooth as possible and keeping that momentum. So a really good just rule of thumb, if you're struggling with that, but you are conscious on trying to make a bit of an effort here on your flip turns, is to think that you don't breathe on the final stroke. So the last time you take a breath is before one more stroke into the wall. So breathe, then a stroke as your minimum coming in. And then if you do the same coming out as your minimum, so try and take 1 stroke before you breathe. And it'll just mean you're in the right position. You can really focus on the turn and you get your air in just before and out again. So let us know how you get on with that. Next up, Yinjong has this question. I've tried flip turning, but always ended up diving deeper in the pool after planting my feet and leaving the wall. I really don't know what I'm doing wrong, so I'm unable to correct it. And then I find myself struggling to surface and get a breath in after. What could be causing this to happen, and what do I do to correct this? Thanks. Well, Yin, you're going to be pleased to know that this is actually a common problem, and as a result, it's quite a straightforward one to work out what's going wrong. So if you think about it, if you're diving too deep on the wall, it's probably because your feet are landing too high up on the wall. So let's imagine that here are your feet, and here's your head, and this is the water surface. Now, if your head is going down, you're going to be at this angle, which means your feet are going to be too high. If you're popping up like a cork, which is not your problem, but it might be someone else's, that's probably because your feet are hitting the wall too low and your body's going to be at that angle. So ideally, you want your feet to be hitting the wall with you relatively flat or slightly like this, so you've got that gradual incline back up to the surface. Now, if your feet are hitting the wall too high up, probably means you're too close to the wall because you're not having a chance to get your feet all the way over in that turn. So you need to reverse that and actually look at when you start your flip turn. So try to have a practice of starting your flip turn a little bit further out from the wall. Whatever your cue is for yourself, try and do it a little bit sooner, and that will allow your feet to go further around and make sure they're touching the wall just under the surface. So before you go and try and put it all together, just practice changing that distance, planting your feet on the wall and stopping and actually seeing where your feet are in relation to the surface of the water. And once you've got to that stage, you can then add in the push off, and hopefully once you've got your feet in the right place, the push off should feel natural and you'll come on a nice gradual slope back up to the surface. And now our final pool question for today comes from Jeremy Mill. I'm limited to 30 minutes in the pool because of COVID restrictions. How do I make the most of that time given I'm training for a 70.3? Well, Jeremy, again, you're not going to be alone on this one. It's great to hear that you're back in the pool and that you're wanting to make the most of this, but I understand that sort of feeling of panic that you desperately need to do a little bit more swimming. But there are some things you can do to help. So first up, try and get a bit of a cardiovascular warm up in before you get to the pool, whether once you get there, you go for a jog around the car park, or if you're cycling there or walking there, just anything so your heart rate is already a little bit higher. And then also do some dry land warm up if you can. So getting your arms moving, opening up your shoulders, even a bit of resistance work with the bands. And all of this will act as your swim warm up. So when you do get in, you only need to do a few lengths of warm up and you can then get straight in with the main set. And for the main set, this is where you need to put the work in. It's a good idea to try and target race pace or above. So you're working hard and you're really making the most out of those 30 minutes. And then later on, when hopefully you'll get more pool time, that's when you can add in a little bit more volume. So it's almost seeing it like reverse periodization. And if you want some ideas for sessions in a short period of time, we've just done a video on GTN to give you some ideas. All right, let's finish up today's Coach's Corner with a couple of run questions. This one from Barrett Waltz. He asks, as far as poor alignment and exercises to fix it, I find when I'm tired towards the end of runs, I hit the opposite ankle as I swing my leg forward more often. I take it that means that my legs are swinging in more as I get tired. Which muscles do I need to work on and which exercises work for that? Well, Barrett, you're on the right track there already, that yes, it probably does have something to do with fatigue, but you need to look further up the chain. Now, I want you to picture when you're running, you're obviously only having weight, one leg is weight bearing and the other one is swinging through. So it's actually the weight bearing leg that's going to be faltering here. So the weight bearing hip and the muscles that support that hip are going to be getting tired, and as a result, the hip you're not standing on is going to be dropping slightly. And if you picture that's dropping, it's going to be putting that whole leg on an angle. So you've got one leg here are your hips, hip drops, and as that hip drops, the bottom bit is going to be coming in, hence your ankle is going to be hitting the other leg. So the answer is actually quite simple. You need to focus on your glutes and strengthening those, especially through periods when they get fatigued. And even more better news, we've got a whole load of videos on GTN on how to strengthen your glutes. So go and take a look at those and take your pick and get working on those glutes. Well, I love this next question from Pau Roldan in the Philippines. She says, my problem is I think I run slow. I'm going to paraphrase some of this because it's quite a lot, but saying that her average pace is 6:35 for a K. Not sure if that's right or wrong, but my mind starts to wander and convinces me to stop running. She says she appreciates our tips at GTN, but hopefully you can do a video about what's a proper mindset, or what do you think about when running or racing, and how do you condition your mind? It's so easy to overlook the power of the mind when you're starting any sport, especially running. And running, We talk about the physical training a lot, but not the mental, and they're both pretty equal, and they don't actually get easier, but you just get better at learning how to deal with them. There are several tools you can use to get through this desire to stop running. Goal setting is a key, and they must be achievable and realistic. So let's say you usually take a break after 2K. How about targeting 2.5K on your next run? And then you give yourself a reward for accomplishing that. Try using music and you preempt the stopping by actually just allowing yourself to have a short walk at the end of each track. So you're in control of when you walk and you're telling yourself, right, this is when I'm walking. So you're constantly on a positive. That way you're going to feel that you're achieving rather than failing to run the whole way. Or could you maybe even run with a friend and you promise each other that you're going to run X distance, whatever it is, before you stop. So you're holding each other accountable. Or even approaching it in a completely different way and saying, right, I'm going to go and do intervals today. So maybe you try and run a little bit harder, but for a shorter distance than what you're doing. So say you're doing 1K intervals as hard as you can maintain for, say, 4 of them, however many you want to do. And then as your rest, you either run or jog really easy or even walk. And that way you're totally in control, and it's going to give you that positive mindset that you can achieve what you're setting out to do. Well, those are just a few options. So give them all a try and see what works best for your mind and your body, and let us know if any of those do the trick. Well, that is bringing today's Coach's Corner to a close. I think we've covered a fair amount there, but if you guys have a burning question or something that you think other people would be interested in as well, please share it with us using the hashtag GTN Coach's Corner, either at the bottom of this video now in the comments section or on our social media, and then we will be back answering those in just a couple of weeks' time. So see you guys again then. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, follow us on our social media, and hit the globe and subscribe on YouTube.